We are in Düsseldorf. It's got an old part, well, a restored old part because much of the city was leveled during World War II. It's also known as the fashion capital of Germany, and art and music are big here. Well, let's get started. We're only here for a few hours.
If you're short on time, one of the must-see stops is the Rhine Tower. At about 790 feet high, it's the tallest building in the city. It was built in 1982 to broadcast radio and television. It rotates the full 360 degrees around at a rate of once every 72 minutes. That's slow enough that you can't feel it at all.
And if you have a few extra minutes, go up the Rhine Tower to get a great view of Düsseldorf.
But also it means being on top of the world's largest digital clock. It's a clock made up of LEDs that run down the vertical shaft of the tower.
And if you happen to want to go to the beach, there's one right across the river here, across the River Rhine.
The Rhine is one of Europe's major waterways, and its use dates back to the Roman Empire more than 2,000 years ago.
When you're walking around Altstadt, you might want to check out St. Lambertus. It's the iconic church here in Düsseldorf. It was built in 1206, but the funky thing is the spire. If you take a look at it, it might look a little twisted to you, and actually it is. That's because in 1815, when renovations were happening, they used unseasoned timber. Well, that would have been fine, except when lightning hit it. And then things went downhill from there.
Coupled with some lead construction weighing it down, what ended up happening was a twisted spire. The church is the oldest surviving building in the Old Town after World War II devastated Düsseldorf. The steeple was destroyed after the war, but when it was reconstructed, the locals insisted that it be built as it was before, with a crooked spire. It's about tradition.
Altstadt doesn't have the charm like some older towns in Europe have, but what it does have is the longest bar in the world. At least that's what they call it. And that's because 250, 300 bars are all situated in this small area. Check your preconceived notions about food at the door. If there's something you don't like at home, that doesn't mean it's going to taste the same here. For me, it's sauerkraut. I won't touch it at home. But here, it's quite good. And when in Düsseldorf, you must have an altbier. I'm not a beer connoisseur, so I won't tell you what I think of it, but we're in Düsseldorf. Düsseldorf has a number of great shopping districts. Here in Königsallee, you have this, it looks like a canal that runs right in the middle of a major thoroughfare, and on either side, some pretty sweet designer stores.
In fact, there are about 800 fashion showrooms. Some Düsseldorfers even call their home Little Paris, dating back to when Napoleon occupied the region in the early 19th century.
I bet you thought I meant art like in art museums. Here in Düsseldorf, it's Kiefernstrasse.
This 3-block stretch is filled with art murals on buildings and even street signs. It's home to 800 people from 45 different countries. The Street Art Initiative began in 2004 with the goal of covering all the brick and concrete. Such a big effort was intended to bring people together because artists had to consider the needs of the residents. While this is hardly the only place to see urban art in Düsseldorf, it's a good place to start if you're short on time.
When I travel, I try to find something that teaches me something to inspire me. And in this case, I found this temporary art installation. It's called In Orbit. It is done by Thomas Saraceno. First of all, it looks pretty much like you're in orbit. You're on a planetary body or you're on a cloud. But really what the artist is trying to teach us is how the experience that we have is affected by others around us, so how the environment affects us. Some lasting impressions of Düsseldorf. Well, first of all, it's clean, it's safe, and it's really quite beautiful. It's walkable, and it's got a great public transportation system. But the one thing about Düsseldorf is that it's great if you're on a bike or a scooter. People on 2 wheels totally have the right of way. So be watchful of that. So I hope you liked our little visit to Düsseldorf. So much more to see. I know I missed a ton, but what can you do? I only had a few hours. So let me know what you think of Düsseldorf and where I should go the next time I come here.
Thanks for joining me on Mary Goes Round the World.
Big city in Germany, it's better to put the rental car in a park and ride on the outskirts of the city and take public transportation. Pick up a Düsseldorf card and get a discount. So it covers basically the public transportation for 3 people.
You can also get big discounts with the card on some local attractions like the tower.